Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 18. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavatyuttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki.
Translation. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Purport. Here is a remedy for eliminating all inauspiciousness. Here is a remedy for eliminating all inauspicious things within the heart, which are considered to be obstacles in the path of self-realization. The remedy is the association of the Bhagavatas. There are two types of Bhagavatas, namely the book Bhagavat and the devotee Bhagavat. Both the Bhagavatas are competent remedies, and both of them or either of them can be good enough to eliminate the obstacles. A devotee Bhagavat is as good as the book Bhagavat, because the devotee Bhagavat leads his life in terms of the book Bhagavat. And the book Bhagavat is full of information about the personality of Godhead and his pure devotees, who are also Bhagavatas. Bhagavat, book and person are identical. The devotee Bhagavat is a direct representative of Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. So by pleasing the devotee Bhagavat, one can receive the benefit of the book Bhagavat. Human reason fails to understand how by serving the devotee Bhagavat or the book Bhagavat, one gets gradual promotion on the path of devotion. But actually, these are facts explained by Srila Naradev, who happened to be a maidservant's son in the previous life. The maidservant was engaged in the menial service of the sages, and thus he also came into contact with them. And simply by associating with them and accepting remnants of foodstuff left by the sages, the son of the maidservant got the chance to become the great devotee and personality, Sri Narad. These are the miraculous effects of the association of Bhagavatas. And to understand these effects practically, it should be noted that by such sincere association of the Bhagavatas, one is sure to receive transcendental knowledge very easily, and with the result that he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. The more progress is made in devotional service under the guidance of the Bhagavatas, the more one becomes fixed in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The messages of the book Bhagavat therefore have to be received from the devotee Bhagavat, and the combination of these two Bhagavatas will help the neophyte devotee make progress on and on. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Shunyadi Paschata Deshatadine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and the loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. In order to influence our mind and consciousness, people take up different activities and hobbies by which they can become happy or peaceful. Example, some people feel disturbed, so they take up some impersonal meditation, or they get a parrot and take care of the parrot or some dog, just to get relief from this material life. So many people do different things. Here in Bhagavatam, it's explained that we should regularly hear Bhagavatam, and that has an effect on the consciousness and mind. Anything we do regularly has an effect. So what is the effect? It says here that in our heart there are dirty things. These dirty things are stopping our spiritual advancement. It's written, the purport. So many things are there which pull us away from the path. In order to overcome that, if we regularly associate with Bhagavat, then nashta prayeshu abhadreshu, nashta, it's destroyed. How is that association? It's given here. When we refer to Bhagavat, that is in relation to Bhagavan, we're referring to the book Bhagavat. There's also person Bhagavat. And further on, the example is given about Narad Muni. So Narad Muni got the opportunity to associate with great Bhagavatas. And by associating even for a short time, he got, it says here, miraculous result of coming out of this cycle of the material consciousness. Actually, Vyasadeva wrote Srimad Bhagavatam for this purpose. Here Sutta Goswami is mentioning this point. But later on, he's going to be narrating himself. Sutta Goswami explains how the mass of people, in order to get relief from material suffering, they do all kind of things, build all kind of buildings, take up different activities. Now if you see in a city, it's full of so many time-wasting activities. And the modern material life, it saps the prana, life energy of the human being by activities which are pointless. Something is wrong with our electricity bill, you queue up now, wait to see the electricity person, because there's a problem with my bill, so they're queuing, and so much time, energy goes there. Then for water, for so-called sense gratification, people do so many things, but energy goes, time goes, there is no time. Avyartha kalatvam, Rupa Goswami explains. One of the features of a devotee who begins to advance realizes there is no time. There is no time. I don't have time, because he realizes what is my position and what I have to become. So he realizes that. Then he realizes what I have to do for that. I have to do so much. There is no time. Avyartha kalatvam. Prabhupada always quoted just that phrase. We are meant to understand what the verse is and what is the meaning. So it's referring to that particular verse. There are different things which are exhibited by a devotee when he's advancing. So another is that not to waste a single second, because he understands, for example, we all have limited amount of time for reading. You may say, okay, no, I have so much time in the day. No, we do so many other things. Actual time for reading comes little when other things are sorted out. But in that time we have to associate with Bhagavatam. And Nitya, every day. Then an effect comes. So now people, so many things are there which are in modern material life to sap our energy and take our time. And this is a very big drawback of materialistic civilization. Previously, if you look at, say, Mathura was a city. What was there? If you see in Krishna book, most of the people lived in the farm. There were some cities where the Kshatriyas lived, some Brahmanas, Vaishyas, very little. There was a limit, I heard from I think Dr. Raghu Maharaj's lecture, city's limit was some 50,000 people, that's it. After that, start another city. You cannot live like a human being. If you're going to live in a place like here, you can see how it is. Many drawbacks are there. One effect is that when the human being is living in a place full of concrete, not seeing trees and plants and grass, it has a psychological negative effect, it becomes disturbed. So the modern city is like this. Traditionally it was not. Now people are so disturbed, now they're thinking how to overcome this disturbance. And they make so many plans to overcome the disturbance. Set up yoga camps. In China they have in the park, huge number of people gather together to do some of their, Reiki, Tai Chi, to get free of stress, because so in a short time they had to materially advance. So people are so disturbed, they have there in the park. Here they have in some cities in North India, laughing park, laughing club. People come together and laugh and laugh and laugh to relieve stress. Because you cannot be normal mind and live a life like this and remain normal and sane. But now, what is the actual cure? That lokasya ajanata, people don't understand. Anartha upashamam. What will destroy all these things? What will destroy all the disturbance in our mind and heart? Anartha upashamam sakshat bhakti yogam adhokshaje. The disturbance is that we have been disconnected from the reservoir of pleasure and from our original position in service to God. Now that's the problem. We broke that connection. So again connect. Reconnect. That's all. What is the point of all these other activities? They'll not work. Because they didn't understand the problem. The problem, the root cause of our dissatisfaction is disconnection from God. Connection can be done in different ways. This is given in Shastra. So, because people don't know this, anartha upashvam sakshat bhakti yogam adokshaje. Lokasya janata, people don't understand. Vidvans chakre satvata samhitam. So Vidvan, Vyasadev, compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. He compiled the Bhagavat. And then his representative, Srila Prabhupada, is telling us that we are meant to absorb in Bhagavat, put our mind in Bhagavat daily. Then what happens? These disturbances go. Because these disturbances are so serious, sometimes people even leave the path of bhakti. Why? They're so disturbed. But it requires a proper understanding how one has to live their life and absorb in the Supreme. It's a combination. Actually, a devotee, one of the qualities is daksha. 64 qualities. Daksha means 23, not 50. One of the daksha means expert. So devotee is expert because we have to be expert. We are in this material world and we have material issues we have to sort out, like sleep, eating, passing stool, making sure electricity bill is paid. Sort out the material affairs. Why? Because we have to engage in spiritual activities. We have to sort out, like sleep. Sleep should be, as Gita says, not too much, not too little. And so we have to be expert in managing the material thing. Why? So we can absorb in the spiritual. And it's a crucial part, because we're in the material world. We have to deal with this material body and material issues and come to the stage of Bhagavat Seva. So that requires some planning, some expertness, some insight. So if a devotee manages to do that, then it says here that the obstacles to bhakti are destroyed. Here it says, both the Bhagavatas, the book and the person Bhagavata, are competent remedies, and both of them or either of them can be good enough to eliminate the obstacles. Here is the remedy for eliminating all inauspicious things within the heart, which are considered to be obstacles in the path of self-realization. We have so many obstacles. That's basically they are born of guna. The prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha. Because of the modes of nature in our heart, it gives rise to different anarthas. So we'll see later, tada rajastamo bhava kama lobha dayaschaye. By association of Bhagavat, the guna goes from the heart. Bhagavatas, as explained here, they are of two types. One is the book, and one is the person who has read the book and is basing their life on the book. So they can also guide us. We say that Shabda, authority, is Veda. It is. And a common person cannot give perfect knowledge because he is illusioned. But if he has based his life on the Bhagavad and he has absorbed the message of Bhagavad, then even the person Bhagavad can be the guide. He is speaking Bhagavatam. So that, and then the ideal situation is that we take guidance from someone who is a Bhagavad, he is basing his life on the Bhagavad. Like Srila Prabhupada, he was, he's one of his personal servants said, Parishori Prabhu, he was speaking, living Bhagavad. He was living the Bhagavatam. Just by seeing him, one can understand, by living with him and seeing his activities, that this person absorbed the Bhagavatam. So just by being with him, one can absorb that same message of Bhagavatam. So the message ideally is gotten from the person and from the personality. And the Bhagavat from the book and the personality. And so instructions have to come from the person, Bhagavat. It's a powerful effect. So it's mentioned here, Nashta Paishavadeshu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. The habit is for people to have this Sapta, 7 days. That's because Parikshit Maharaj had 7 days, but we don't have 7 days, or maybe we do, who knows. In our life, how long do we have? Parikshit Maharaj knew he had 7 days, so he read Bhagavat 7 days, but we don't. We have time. We have to hear Bhagavatam daily, absorb ourselves in Bhagavatam daily. And then what happens? Anything we do regularly becomes fixed in our consciousness. Then it becomes fixed in our mind, in our consciousness. It changes our consciousness. So, what is the effect? The effect is that normally when we want to think of something or do something, some whimsical ideas come in our mind. But if we constantly hear Bhagavatam, then we absorb the message. Then whenever we do anything, we take that from the Bhagavatam. How to eat, how to leave the body. Oh, how did Prithu Maharaj leave his body? How did Bharat Maharaj leave his body? How to deal with enemies? How did Ambarish Maharaj deal with it? How did the Pandavas deal? How to overcome family quarrel? Well, I don't know, there'll be something there. How to overcome any problems in life. If we absorb the messages, then we'll take it from there. If we don't, at least we can hear from someone who did, then he'll give us that guidance, how a Bhagavata should act. A person who is hearing Bhagavatam and absorbed Bhagavatam is not at that second under material energy. As Krishna says to Uddhav in 11th canto, Madashya katham rishta, shinvanti katayanti cha, tapanti vividastapa, naitan madgata chetasa. Those who mad ashray katha mrishta, those who take shelter of my katha, mad ashray katha mrishta, shrinvanti katayanti cha, who hear and when they get opportunity they speak. So many things we can speak in this world, so much. But if we can dedicate our speaking as much as possible to Krishna or Krishna Seva or Krishna's devotees, it will help. It will be a very big help for us. As Shukadev, here Sutta Goswami speaking, later Shukadev Goswami will say, Shrota Vyadi Rajendra Nam Santi Sahasrasha Apashatam Atmatatam Griheshu Grihamedinam. Those who do not dedicate their lives for the absolute truth, they have so many topics to discuss, other topics. There's so much that they discuss. apashyatam atma tattvam griheshu grihamedinam. So Krishna says to Uddhav that those who take shelter of my katha, madasha katham rishtha, shrinvanti here and shrinvanti katayanti cha, tapanti vividastapa. Then within this material world there is so much suffering. Tapanti vividastapa. But naitan madgata chetasa. But they'll not experience that suffering. Because actually where does suffering come? Where is suffering? Like if I'm sitting here, if I'm cold or hot, or if I see a snake, this is different forms of anxiety and suffering. But where is it experienced? Huh? It's not experienced on the body. If you're saying, I'm getting suffering because of cold, but the same cold in summer is a pleasure, then what is suffering the cold? This body? This body is just flesh. What can flesh do? And when I leave this body, it will be here, and what will it do on its own? It's flesh, it cannot do anything. Okay, I have nerves. What are the nerves made of? These are all made of different carbon, some chemical, and they propagating some signal. The signal is in the mind. That suffering enjoyment is in the mind. It comes in the mind. That's why a situation, some will perceive as suffering, others will not. If someone is from a particular country and someone else comes and is insulting that country or that community, so some will suffer who is from that country, others won't who are not from that country. It's all in the mind. So the mind has to be trained. The mind has to be trained not to dwell on the matter. First of all, to detach from matter and absorb in Krishna. So when we are hearing katha, then the mind is on Krishna. For that second, the mind is not based on the material platform, then we are not suffering. And therefore Krishna says, tapanti vividastapa tapa naitan madgata chetasa, that their consciousness is on me right now at that time. And so naitan tapanti, there is a lot of suffering in this material world. Tapanti vivid, a lot of types of suffering, but the devotee is not in that. And the more one becomes materialistic, the more different types of suffering come which we cannot understand. People get disturbed on issues which somebody who is brought up in a godly way, God conscious, will not understand. Why are you getting disturbed? Because their mind is not on matter. So as Krishna says that with devotees, they don't suffer because their minds are on me. Madgata chetasa. Their minds are absorbed in me. In many places this is mentioned. In one place here in Bhagavatam, Parikshit Maharaj says that 7 days I am not eating, sleeping, I am not suffering. So people don't know this, they did not know it, and Vyasadeva compiled Srimad Bhagavatam for this purpose, because the mass of people are not aware how to overcome this suffering. They made such an elaborate civilization to overcome material suffering. Their actually intelligence is destroyed. They can't understand the source of the suffering. Now as Kali Yuga progresses, there will be so many floods, famine, disasters. And so what do? We go to help the people at the disaster, the flood, and the war? No. That is not the problem. That is the symptom. Now what is the root cause of the problem? Godlessness. And the more there's godlessness, the more this will come. Epidemic, pestilence, floods, droughts, war. This is all symptom of godlessness, punishment by material nature. Material nature is working under Krishna. Nothing will happen without his sanction. So the question is why Krishna is sending the floods and these things. And the answer is because the people are more sinful. This material nature was given for the people to worship him and use it to come back to him. Use the flower to offer to God. Use the water for keeping clean and pure and worshipping God. And then we use it for sense gratification. Then it will not support our plan it will not support it. Something will go wrong. And so the devotees have to bring people back to Krishna, to consciousness, give the gyan, explain them what they forgot. But if we want to instead say, okay, let's relieve their material suffering by adjusting the material situation, then we have a lot of work to do, because Kali Yuga is just starting, people are godless, and one by one they'll all come, all these problems. This is not the solution. Even in these problems, you'll find that the devotees won't be suffering, whatever suffering comes about. So, how to remedy the situation? We have to teach them how, originally as a soul, we are meant to be serving Krishna, Bhagavad Seva. So, Bhagavad Seva means serving Bhagavan. But in this conditioned state, I cannot serve God. I don't know who is God. Even if I know, I'm not qualified. I have so many anarthas, I have so many problems. So serve God by following His instructions. How? Instructions are given in Shastra. So our service means hearing. That is Seva. Hearing Bhagavatam is Seva. And we get that benefit of serving Krishna. Bhagavad Seva, Prasad Seva. Simply by following instructions, honoring Prasad, only Prasad, hearing Bhagavad Katha, then we come into Bhagavad Seva. And what are the effects? It says here, the effects are miraculous. These are miraculous effects. The example is given of Narad Muni. How some people, they take lifetimes to become purified. They struggle hard in Ashtanga Yoga, Jnana Yoga, or Karma Yoga, trying to do their duty. Yes, they can get perfection, but after a long time, and of course not without bhakti. Bhakti has to be there. This perfection will come, but what is the powerful effect of association with Bhagavatam? It's very powerful. And therefore, right in the beginning of Bhagavatam, this narration comes of Narad Muni telling Vyasadeva that we have to bring people's consciousness to Bhagavan directly, serving and associating with Bhagavan and Bhagavatas, the devotees, because of that effect is I was able to come to this stage. So miracle, what is a miracle? Something that seems, how can it happen? It's not true. How is it possible? So some people, this is not possible. Here it's written, some people may not believe that. It says that human reason cannot understand, human reason fails to understand how by serving the devotee Bhagavad or the book Bhagavad, one gets gradual promotion on the path of devotion. How is it? Simply by serving or simply by hearing? No, it's saying it's a miracle. We may not understand that. But what will we understand with this small, as Prabhupada says, teeny brain? What will we understand? We cannot understand anything. So our situation, our best course of action is simply to come to follow the teachings. So it is a miracle. How Narad Muni, that happened to him, it can happen. It can happen to anybody. We have seen miracles now, and we are seeing so often that we are thinking it's normal, but it's not normal. As one person came to Srila Prabhupada in Kumbh Mela, and he was going around seeing what different miracles different yogis perform. So he came to Prabhupada, what miracle can you do? Then immediately Prabhupada pointed at the, what shall I say, foreign devotees, and said, I made them into Vaishnavas. Then he looked, he said, that's a miracle. Yeah, that's a miracle. It's a miracle. How Jiva born in Kali Yuga, addicted to 4 things which we are meant to not be doing for civilized life, can turn around and become a great Vaishnava and propagate God consciousness on a level which people, Brahma Durlabha Prem, Sabakare Jache, that Lord Brahma even aspires to achieve this level of devotion and did not. But anybody, it's available here, it's available through the Bhagavatam, such a powerful effect, it says. The progress that is made is so powerful. It will just cut through the bindings of the karma And some people lament, oh, but me, how can I become a devotee? How can I have so many anartha, so many problems. Actually, we simply have to engage in the process. And yat anudhyasina yukta karma granthi nibandhanam chiddanti kovidastasya, that this katha will cut through that karma. Anudhyasina yukta chindanti karma granthi nibandhanam. It will cut all this bondage that we are having to this body and this material world in a miraculous way that you can't imagine. I practically seen, I remember once, I saw one devotee. He was from a country somewhere in East Europe. And I was in Kumbh Mela, I saw him, he was new. And he would not wake up, he'll just do kirtan whole day. He didn't wake up for Mangal Arati. And he'll just be always looking little wild. But he was attracted to the mantra and he was not under any authority. He just came in Kumbh Mela, ISKCON Pandal, I was there, staying with us. Then it was like hippie mood. He was chanting, and in his time he'll pick up open Bhagavad Gita and read it. Then I saw him after 9 or 10 months in Vrindavan. And I was shocked, is this the same person? He was sitting very peacefully, chanting. In his face you could see some deep contemplating the name, some spiritual topics. And he was shaved, hair, very peaceful. And when I met him, paid obeisance, I said, this is not the same person. It's not the same person. Literally, it's not. When we do bhakti, it's not the same. We are not the same. Subtle body changes, completely different. It's not the same. Therefore, we say that you don't see a Vaishnava by his nationality, caste, creed, religion, all these things, because it's not the same. When one performs bhakti, then what happens? Under bona fide guru, having taken diksha, then it says, Yatha kanchanatham yati kamsam rasa vidhanata tata diksha vidhanena vijatam jayate nirnam. Just like bell metal and mercury will produce gold, so through the action of diksha, a person practicing, having taken diksha, he changes. He's not the same person. That change happens. But the change happens if we take diksha. Diksha means not simply getting beads and getting a name, but following. The process of diksha is not an event, one event. No, it's a process that we follow the guru and we follow the instructions, then we transform, then we are not the same person. So that happens. So whatever we think is our disqualification, whatever it is, but by absorbing in the Bhagavad, by Bhagavad Seva, that will change. But then we have to serve Bhagavad. We have to do that. If we have to just sort out our whole day in such a way that we end up sitting and reading 1 or 2 hours, and Prabhupada said 2 hours. In one place he said 3 hours. So it's up to you. Yeah. And one temple I know, temple president said 4 hours will make everyone read. Minimum. So why? Because that is the life and soul of the devotee. This material body, anad bhavanti bhutani, will subsist on food grain, but the spiritual body and consciousness will subsist on Bhagavad Katha. Otherwise, how can we live? We live, but we will not be living. So Nityam Bhagavata, it's not that one day read 10 hours and then don't read one. It's a daily, we should come in contact. Actually, in many ways, it's even saying if you hear Katha, that's also good. Reading as well as hearing. So Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Then what happens? Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtuki. It says that gradually what will happen, once our anarthas are destroyed, then bhakti begins. Tesham to antagatam papam jananam punyapradam vidvanda mohina nirmukta bhajante mam didavrata. Those who have come to the end of their sinful reactions, then what happens? Then bhajante mam ananyam. They begin to worship ananyam without any deviation. So it says here, Bhagavati Uttama Shloke. Uttama Shloke means, what is Uttama Shloka? Huh? You know?
Krishna.
Uttama Shloka.
Inspired to
by great verses. It's Krishna. This is Vishnu's name. Uttama Shloka means one who is glorified by great verses. So, Bhagavati, even the word they use in the verse is significant. Here, because we are referring to Bhagavat and Katha, the word of Krishna is used is Uttama Shloka. Yat Uttama Shloka Gunanu Varnane. Many verses are there. So, Bhagavati Uttama Shloke. So, what happens is that once the sinful reactions are destroyed by hearing Bhagavatam, next comes we get devotional service. Devotional service. It comes Naishtaki. Naishtaki means Naishtaki. It means it cannot be taken back. We get bhakti, but you see, whatever good thing we get, it goes sometimes. We'll get money, it's not really good, but we think it's good. So then we lose it. Or we may get some good situation in this material world, but it changes. Ashashvatam, dukhalem, ashashvatam. But here it's saying that bhaktir bhavati, we will get bhakti, naishtaki, irrevocable. It will not, we will be fixed, we will become fixed in bhakti. So first stage is anarthopashamam. It says nashta prayasha badreshu. First, gradually we continue, then bhakti comes. By hearing Bhagavatam, bhakti will come. Because we're in contact with Bhagavan. So we get purified. Purification means our original state comes. The original state is Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadaka Bunaya Shavanadi Shuddhe Chitte Kare Uday. It's in our heart, bhakti. And when the dirt is removed, the bhakti is manifested. So that dirt has to be removed by continuously, daily coming in contact with the Bhagavat. And as we mentioned before, we are so fortunate. Srila Prabhupada has put our daily schedule. You know, we have to follow the Acharya. So Acharya has put the rules which we really can't help but follow because they're so good that we have to read Bhagavatam. And not everyone is in different sampradayas, I told that. They have to do so much archan or other things, but that's for them and that's great and they'll achieve in their way. But what we are told to follow is actually so nectarian. Mat ashakatam mrishtha. It's so nectarian that we'll want to follow it. So, bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Finally, if we follow, what happens? We get bhakti. We get devotional service. That is the greatest benediction for the jiva. The greatest state is being in a state of loving devotional service with the Supreme Lord, connected to the Supreme, not under the Maya image. Hare Krishna. Any question? Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.